Welcome to the Men of Character Talk Series. Gentlemen, if you have a cell phone, please turn your ringer off and turn it off at this time. This is the last of a series of 7 mentoring talks that we've had. The Men of Character community brings in men of character from our community to come in and share their life stories with you. The idea is that these men impart a little bit of themselves on you, and they can absorb it and understand that to be a man of character means something. And it might mean something a little different to each and every one of you, but if you've heard the different speakers, there's a mainline thread running through each and every story that you hear and how these men handle these stories, their life experiences. So, today we have a really special treat. We have Keith Nord here to speak to us. And I don't know if you guys know Keith Nord, or if you've read a bio of him, but I'm going to read this to you so that you get a little understanding of the type of guy he is. In the summer of 1979, Keith Nord arrived in the Minnesota Viking training camp as a walk-on. Although less than 5% of all walk-ons ever played in the NFL. Keith made the team and went on to become a Vikings captain in 1953. Keith played with the Vikings for 7 years and was known for his savvy and determined, hard-hitting play. Keith earned 5 game balls. The highest compliment player he received was keeping. Some bullet points. Minnesota Viking team captain. 1979 honors graduate, St. Cloud State University School of Business. SCSU football team captain, team MVP, all-conference Glenn Gallagher Award winner, March of Dimes, Citizen Athlete of the Year, Muscular Dystrophy Citizen Athlete of the Year, nominated for the NFL Man of the Year, 1985 Ed Block Memorial Courage Award winner. Not to mention, graduate of Minnetonka High School class of 1975. So please give a Minnetonka football welcome to Keith Nord.
Thank you. Thanks, Philip, for the nice introduction. Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to come spend some time with you this morning. You know, talking about men of character, I travel around and I talk. That's what I do now. But you start talking about character, there's one topic you have to come up with, and that's integrity. Where are the seniors? Raise your hands. Guys, what's integrity?
Doing what your character says, like following your morals all the time.
Following your morals all the time. Senior? So who's senior? Senior, integrity.
Doing the right thing when nobody's watching.
Doing the right thing when nobody's watching. Good answers. To me, integrity, it's one of the 3 decisions I think define your lives. Is what are you going to do? Integrity to me is doing the right thing when the right thing costs you. Whether it costs you money, influence, prestige, friends. Do you do the right thing when the right thing's hard? Because doing the right thing when it's easy is easy. But do you do the right thing when it's hard? I've had an opportunity to be in a lot of leadership positions. Philip just told you about some. In my life, I've known 3 great leaders. They got their power because they made promises to themselves, and when it cost them, they kept the promises. They did the right thing when doing the right thing was really hard. For the 19th year in September, I'm going to go down to Missouri and speak at this program called the Student Congress on Character Education. High school and college students from across the country come, put together an action plan to change the character climate in their school. First year down there, get back home, Minneapolis, got a voicemail. The guy that ran the program put the program on, corporate sponsor. He wants me to come down and speak to his company on business ethics. The last thing he says in the voicemail, they're stealing from me blind, I just don't know how. Talking about his employees. Interesting way to start a conversation. I went down and spoke to his 1,000 employees on business ethics, had a great day. The next day I did a workshop, 7 hours, top 50 people, had a great time. That night the owner, Steve, and I were to dinner. And all during dinner he seemed distracted, kind of frustrated. Now I thought that he'd gone really well, so I didn't understand. He's dropping me off at the hotel. I'm not going to see him again. I'm flying out early. As he pulls up, I just said, Steve, I said, obviously the day didn't go as well as I thought. What didn't you like? And he got emotional. He started crying. He goes, no, it's not about you. He said, I've owned this company for 10 years, been in it 15. He said, but the last year and a half, I've been having an affair with a woman in the company. He said, I got to tell you, the opportunity for this affair has been there a long time. She wanted to get involved years ago. He said, I thought about it. I agonized over it. Should I get involved? Should I not? He said, a year and a half ago, I made the decision to get involved. Now her and I get together 2 or 3 times every week. He said, I realized today as you were speaking, I don't even question it. And the point that he made to me that was so vivid, the first time you do something wrong, it's hard. How many here have cheated on a test? I'm the only one scumbag in the room. Really? Really? Adults here, how many adults have cheated on it? Adults raised, how many have cheated on a test? Do you remember the first time you did it? Man, it's hard. But what happens if you do it again? It gets easier. And if you do it enough, you know what happens? It becomes who you are. And the question I'd ask everybody in the room, and I'm talking to adults just as much as the students, is there something you've done for a really long period of time that's just flat out wrong, that's become who you are? Because I believe that one decision is going to define your life. Do you do the right thing when the right thing's hard? When it costs you start talking about integrity, it's a whole lot easier to talk about lack of integrity. And one name always comes up in the United States, and that's Bill Clinton. Anybody here, and I'm not expecting the students, but any adults, anybody read Bill's book? Anybody read Bill Clinton's book? I'm not a big Bill Clinton basher or fan. I voted for him one time, but the book was pretty interesting, and USA Today had an editorial 2 weeks after it came out. Kind of stabbed me in the heart. Because the last 2 sentences of the editorial said 956 pages, 1 question left unanswered. How could someone that smart act so stupid? By everyone's account, Bill Clinton's a really intelligent guy. He's a Rhodes Scholar. The Republicans always marveled at his ability to understand the detailed, the complex information. He's a brilliant guy. To understand how stuff, all like cultures interact, he's a brilliant guy. And the truth is, I'm a pretty smart guy. I'll never be as smart as Bill Clinton, but I'm a pretty smart guy. But see, we know parts of Bill's personal life. And if you knew parts of my personal life, there's times you could all look at me and say, how could someone that smart? Because I'm pretty smart. You can say, how could someone that smart act so stupid? And here's what I know about you, every one of you, the adults and students, every one of you. If I knew your personal lives, every one of you, there's times I could look at you and say, how could someone that smart act so stupid? This integrity issue is important. We got to get a handle on it. One of the first times this issue jumped out at me was back at St. Cloud. My marketing professor, James Johnson, I've studied 15 hours for a 2-hour midterm. I walk in, I'm a good student, I know how to take a test. I go through the whole test first. There's one question, number 5. I'd studied the night before. I couldn't remember the answer, but I'd figure it out. I finished my 2-hour midterm in 20 minutes, except for question number 5. And I sat there for the next hour and 30 minutes just staring. In my mind, I had a blank blackboard. Has anybody had that experience? So frustrating. Finally, there's 5 minutes left in the test. This woman sitting kitty corner. She finally lifts her paper up to review the answers. The movement kind of caught my eye, and I glanced over, and I saw the first word she'd written on question number 5. It was macroeconomics. Well, it was an essay question, but that triggered my mind. I knew my answer. I wrote my paper out. I turned it in, and I'm walking back to Shoemaker Hall where I lived, and this thought went through my mind. I said, I wonder, could anybody confuse what just happened there with cheating? And I said, no. Cheating's premeditated. This was like a gift from God. She just happened to lift her paper. Well, I went back and told James Johnson what happened. He didn't give me a 0 for the question. Gave me a 0 for the test. The only B I ever got in this class, I got all A's except for 1 B, and I got a B by 2 points by doing a ton of extra credit. But I walked out of there knowing 2 things. I knew, number 1, today as a 54-year-old man, if I hadn't gone back, I'd feel guilty. And I knew, number 2, in my life, like in your life, this is a day by day, this is a week by week, this is a moment by moment decision. Are you going to do the right thing when the right thing costs you? And I'm standing here telling you that one decision is going to define your lives. Where are the juniors and seniors? Raise your hands. It's important for you guys too. You know why? Because there's a whole bunch of kids looking at you, watching you. You have an opportunity every day to do the right thing in the field or something less. Do me a favor, everybody make a circle with your finger and thumb. Hold it out in front of your face. Now look up here. Put this on your chin. Where's your chin? I've been up here about 6 minutes, guys, and you're following me. Think about the impact on your choices to make. You guys influence guys every single day. Your decisions count. You want to get scared, parents? Think about your decisions. You've been impacting your son's decisions for 16 years. They're following what you guys do. Last thing Steve said to me before I got out of his car. Guy down in Missouri. He said, remember, Keith, I told you they're stealing from you blind? He said, it's all starting to make sense. I didn't need to ask what he meant. I knew what he meant. They were watching him cheat on his family. They felt it was okay to cheat on him. Our choices count. You know, I thought about what I should talk about this morning. I kind of decided I was going to talk real quickly about kind of a philosophy on life that I've adopted from my athletic background and then from some of the corporate work I did too. If you walk into one of the 5 largest financial institutions in the United States, if you walk into their home office, it's this beautiful home office. They have like 10 stories going up of granite behind the receptionist desk, and 3 words are written in like 10-foot letters, etched in granite. And the 3 words are, we work hard. I thought that was kind of weird to see, so I asked the receptionist. She goes, well, you know, we developed normative behaviors as a company. We want to be known as a hard-working company. I'm talking to the CEO, and he looked at me and goes, you know, well, hard work's more fun than fun. Anybody know what that means? Hard work is more fun than fun. Anybody got that one? Any seniors got that one? Anybody, do you remember the movie A League of Their Own? Has anybody seen the movie A League of Their Own? About a women's professional baseball team? Tom Hanks is the manager, Gina Davis is the star player. Right before the playoffs, she comes and she tells him she's going to quit, and he looks at her and he goes, quit now? He goes, why? She goes, it's just too hard. He said, hard? He goes, it's supposed to be hard. Great line. He said, the hard is what makes it great. And if you're sitting here this morning going, I wonder what that means, boy, I hope someday you know. I hope someday every one of you care about something enough, you believe in something enough, you understand hard work towards something you believe in, that's just more fun than fun. And here's the truth. If nobody's told you, here's the truth. You know what each one of you can do if you're willing to? You can simply outwork people. If you're willing to. Athletics, academics, if you're willing to, you can outwork people. Here's the greatest lesson. Maybe Dave hasn't taught you yet. Here's the greatest lesson sports teaches right now. Don't ever forget this. The greatest lesson sports teaches is the best team, the best individual doesn't have to win. You and me, we can make up for a lack of talent with effort. If you're willing to. If you're willing to. How many have read the book Outliers? You need to read the book Outliers. Talks what it's all about is how you become great at anything. They've done the study. You want to become great at something, you know what they figured out? You got to put in 10,000 hours. You got to put in 10,000 hours to become as good as you can be. And you know what the truth is? I put in my 10,000 hours, and I was never a great NFL player. I was a real good, solid NFL player, but I was as good as I can be. You know what, though? Those 10,000 hours, the problem with that, that's not in front of a packed stadium with 7,000 people cheering your name. That's down in Minnetonka High School. It was just a grass field. When it was 95 down in that bowl, and I'd be backing up day after day, hour after hour, all by myself in the weight room here, little crappy weight room we had. You want to put in work? When I went to St. Cloud, we didn't have a weight room. I was doing flies, putting the 45-pound plates and the 25-pound plates through my fingers, doing flies. I walked out benching 385 at St. Cloud. Had one bench, one crappy little bench. If you're willing to, you can outwork people. A little side note for those parents here, all the dads, you know what? You can't make your kids be great players. It'll never happen. Your kids that want to be great players, you can't stop them. They'll find a way to get it done. Sending kids to camps and all those things will never, if a kid wants to be a great player, he'll find a way to get it done. My dad never one time asked me, Keith, let's go play catch, you need to work on your back pedal, not one time. Every single time I asked him if he had time, he played catch with me. We can't make our kids great players, and we can't keep them from being great players if they want to, if they're willing to. The truth is, again, one more time, if you're willing to, you can simply outwork people. And again, that's not just in sports. That's in school. That's in your job. You can outwork people. Second part of that philosophy, work hard. You know what the second part is? We need to improve. We need to get better. You know, the thing about getting better is it's hard because you got to take chances. You got to try something new. You got to step out of comfort zones. Students, guys, athletes, what's the one topic your dads don't want to talk to you about, don't want to talk to you about at this age? Guys? Seniors? Somebody tell me. Dads, what's the one topic you don't want to talk about? I heard somebody whispering down their sex, yeah. You talk about dads out of comfort. You talk about a dad out of, I'm 13 years old, I need my sex talk. Now believe me, I'm not sexually active at 13, I am flat out confused. My dad starts my sex talk. He takes me fishing in southern Minnesota and sings me a dirty song. I kid you not, it went something like this. I got a girl in Portland, Oregon. You could ask all day long. I'm not going to finish that song. My dad was totally out of his comfort zone. But after that conversation was over, you know how to learn some stuff. He's taking the chance. The problem with taking chances, you know what it is? We don't know. It doesn't always work out the way we want it to. To get better, you got to be willing to take chances. You got to be willing to step out of comfort zones. Try something new. Who's been to SeaWorld? Say, favorite exhibit at SeaWorld? Everybody loves Shamu. My wife and I went to SeaWorld before we had kids. One of those cold, rainy days. The days they get to buy those $50 Shamu umbrellas. And if you bought those $50 Shamu umbrellas, you know they cover one person. So we're walking around with $100 worth of umbrellas, freezing to death. We figured the last exhibit we'll see will be Shamu, 5 o'clock, everyone's going to be gone. We walk in 5 minutes to 5, the place is packed. The only place for us to sit was the first 1 or 2 rows. Yeah, now if you guys have seen Shamu, you know that's where they get splashed at the end of the show. We're walking out soaked to the skin, freezing to death, and we're walking up those steps. If you've been there, those steps are so steep you almost need a rope to pull yourself up. It takes you 10 minutes to get out of there. And we're walking behind this guy who in front of us is just nuts. Because for 10 minutes on the way out, he's talking to his wife. He keeps going, honey, how in the world do they teach that whale to do those things? And my wife and I are thinking, now how does this guy think they teach the whale? I mean, does he really believe they go out in the middle of the ocean with 2 boats, put a rope up in between and just shout, jump? Jump? I mean, how do they teach him? They put him in a pool of water, put a rope under the water. When he goes under the rope, what do? If he swims under the rope, what do? You know, that's a mistake. They just let go. That's learning. He goes over the rope, then what do? They feed him. Now, Shamu's no dummy. Shamu kind of kicks back, says, there seems to be an interesting relationship with going over the rope and getting fed. So pretty soon he's going over like crazy. Then what do? They raise the rope. Now, why do they want to raise the rope? Well, it's not that exciting to show off to leave the rope underwater. People say, give Shamu a hand. He says, what? I didn't see anything. But pretty soon you got him jumping through hoops in 20 feet. And you know what you've done? You've caught him doing things, something approximately right. Now you've given him recognition. One of the great things that you as juniors, seniors, and coaches need to be doing is to recognize not just success, but effort and improvement. Parents, dads, we're so bad at this. We need to recognize not just success. We need to recognize effort and improvement. And all you coaches, if you don't have a systematic way you do it, you are missing opportunities. One more time, if you don't have a systematic way, you recognize effort and improvement, you're screwing up. You are missing opportunities. People do things for recognition they will never do for money. Juniors, seniors, you need to find ways to recognize each other. The freshmen, the sophomores, not just for success, for effort, for improvement. Anybody play golf? Anybody play golf? What's a mulligan? Say it again. It's a do-over. How many mulligans do you get in a friendly round of golf? 1 in 9. That's kind of what it is, or 1 in 18. I had a buddy I used to play golf with, Danny, and he was one of those guys, he believed in taking mulligans all over the course. He'd take mulligans out of the sand. He'd take mulligans while he's putting. He'd hit it like 3-4 ways over, and he never wanted me to think he was cheating, so he was always screaming, Keith, I'm going to take a mulligan. There's people playing in between. I mean, I was embarrassed. It was just embarrassing. I can't play golf anymore. I've had 7 neck operations. I have 5 levels of my neck fused. So I hadn't played with Danny for like 3 or 4 years, and he invited me up to his cabin and said, you know what? We'll fish a little bit, maybe play around a golf. You can drive the cart. You're always best at that. And he's right. I was a terrible golfer. So we're up there, and we fished a couple days, had some great fish. And he goes, let's go play 1 round of golf. So Danny stood up in the first tee and hit his first ball about 265 yards right down the middle. And I was really proud of myself because I didn't say a word. In my mind, I was thinking, take a snapshot, Dan. You won't see that again all day long. But he came up to his second shot, and he hit it with about 3 feet of the cup. Then he put it in for birdie. He played that way the whole round. He shot 71. Par in that course is 70. Danny's now what's called a scratch golfer. He typically plays the course in the same score a professional would play it in. And we're driving back to his cabin. I'm saying, Danny, what in the world? You were worse than I was. He goes, I just like the game. I just kept taking mulligans, just kept taking do-overs. And I was driving home the next day by myself in my car, and I was thinking, it was almost like all those do-overs had made him better. And you know what? They had. One of the things we need to be willing to give ourselves is do-overs. People, when you're trying new stuff, we screw up. Pete Carroll, head coach in Seattle, my coach of the Vikings, defensive back coach, he used to run around practice screaming, guys, we got to make more mistakes. We got to make more mistakes. Not mental mistakes, physical mistakes, because he knew for us to be our very best, In practice, we had to get right out on the edge of our ability level. Find out how good we could be. As a defensive back then, can I crowd the line? Can I play 4 yards off that guy and still get him covered if he goes deep? Where can I play? We got to get on the edge of our ability level, which means we're going to make mistakes. And he was begging us to make mistakes in practice. If you never get beat in practice, you're not trying. If you never get whipped in practice, you are not getting any better. Work hard. Improve. Third part of that philosophy, you know what we need to do? We need to have fun. You got to have fun. I was speaking for that large financial institution. I was speaking for their actuaries and underwriters. Anybody know what an actuary and underwriter does? Anybody know what they do? Tell us what they do, sir.
Calculate insurance risks.
Yeah, they're not the most exciting group of people in the world to speak to, typically. They work numbers, they're like glorified accounts. They're amazing people. You give them your birthday, your sex, your zip code, those 3 things. They'll tell you within about 3 months how long you're going to live. And they are amazingly accurate. You know, you pay in premiums, they pay out death benefits. Not the most exciting group to speak to. It's out in New York. I fly in. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday program. I'm Wednesday. Tuesday, I get there a little bit early. I throw my stuff in the hotel room. I figure I'll sit in the back of the room, pick up something I can talk about the next day. Well, I'm trying to find the room, and the first room I go by where people are speaking, there's all these people laughing and screaming, and I know, unfortunately, it's not my ballroom, so I keep walking. But every other room was empty, and I went back and asked the front desk, where's the company? So it's ballroom A, the one with all the laughter. So I walk back and I open the door, and the very first thing I see is about a 65-year-old guy holding his leg, chasing people around the room. There's another guy, 65, bent over, almost on his knees, hands over his face, repeating the same sentence over and over again, because if he does, he's invisible. There's a woman with both hands behind her back, chasing people around the room, trying to tag them with her left shoulder below their waist on the right side, because if she does, they're it. What they were doing is playing hospital tag. Anybody ever played hospital tag? It's fun. The program's finally over. I grabbed this lady in the way, and I said, where's Tom? Tom's the CEO. First guy I saw, 65, chased people around the room. I went up, I said, Tom. I said, I've spoke for underwriters and actuaries before. I said, what in the world was this? Listen to his answer. He didn't say, I've been the chief executive officer of $3 billion companies like he could have. He didn't say I've been the chief operating officer of $3 billion companies. He said, I've led 3 major organizations in my life. I've found that fun seals relationships. He said, you know what happens when you seal relationships and fun and problems come? People look for solutions. When relationships aren't sealed and fun, you know what people do? Look for excuses, reasons to leave. You juniors and seniors, you captains, you guys need to find ways to seal relationships and fun. That is part of your job. Pete Carroll, read his book. It's a good book. Got a whole chapter, making it fun. Work hard, improve, have fun. It's a philosophy that carried me a long way in my life. It's one I still feel strongly about all the way. Let me bring it back real close, just close one more time before I'm done. I'll be happy to answer some questions. I've taken maybe more time than I'm supposed to. Dave will have to decide if there's time for that. But let me ask you one question. Please don't raise any hands. But you guys, young guys, and you parents too, how would you answer the question? Do you think, because you know what, I think the same things happen to families. When problems come to families, and problems always come to families, you know what happens? If relationships aren't sealed and fun, people look for reasons to leave. The question I'd ask is, would you guys say your family relationships are sealed and fun? Because I got to tell you, if one of my kids came to me and said, you know what, Dad, we're not having enough fun as a family, I'd do whatever I could to change that. Maybe your parents would too. Work hard, improve, have fun. It's guided my life for 30 years. Continues to. Thanks, guys. I don't know, do we have time for questions? Anybody have any questions? Want to talk about anything? Yes?
First part of your talk, you mentioned about 3 leaders that you respected.
Yep. James Johnson, marketing professor at St. Cloud State. Pete Carroll, you know Pete, he's the head coach of Seattle now. And then Bobby Moriguchi, a kid I didn't have a chance to talk about today, a kid I met right here. When I'm talking, a lot of times I'll tell a story about Bobby Moriguchi, the most goal-driven person I've ever met. He's been dead for, 30 years, 25 years. Unbelievable kid. Met him right here at Minnetonka High School. Anybody have any football questions? Yeah.
What was one of your highlights as a Viking?
Highlights as a Viking. Being named captain was a highlight. Interesting story about that real quick. I'll tell you real quick. Bud Grant pulled me aside for practice. He said, Keith, I want you to know the media's going to talk to you afterwards. I said, what's going on? He goes, well, I'm naming you a captain. I said, oh, coach, thanks. What an honor. And he looked at me. He got so disgusted with me. I thought he was going to take it away. He said, I'm not naming you a captain to honor you. He said, I have no interest in honoring you. He said, but I think you're ready to lead other people. I was 26 years old. Up to that point in my life, I've been a captain at every level. Up to that point in my life, leadership had always been about me. My picture in the paper, my name in the paper. Leadership's not about you. Your job as leaders is to create power in other people. Hopefully that's what you fathers are doing, creating power in your family. You'll know you've done a great job in leadership. Dave will know if he's done a great job in leadership when the group runs just as well when he's not there as when he is there. That's when you've done a great job in leadership. It's not about you guys. It's about you creating power in other people. That was a highlight. That was a highlight. I mean, I scored a couple touchdowns. Those were highlights. Tackled Walter Payton 14 times in one game. That was a highlight. You know, maybe a highlight that hurt a little bit, but it was a highlight. Nobody? Thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity.